war blessings and peace with family, friends, and foes. Ramadan Mubarak to the fasting Muslims, the fasting believers. For those believers who don't understand what war blessings and peace means, Assalamu alaikum. Anyone who sees this video, who listens to the video, who takes the time to listen to the videos that I put out, don't be turned off by the message because of the messenger. Because you identify me or identify myself as Muslim. Islam is my personal relationship with the Creator. It's my personal choice. In all truth, my religion, I'm black. Whenever I'm asked the question, what's my religion, my answer is simple. I'm black and I'm tired of police killing us. I'm tired of us killing us. Next question. What's your next question? So they don't kill us because of our religion. They kill us because of our color, the color of our skin. They don't spare you because you're Christian and kill me because I'm Muslim. They don't kill me because I'm Muslim and spare you because you're Christian. They kill us because they identify with our color. They don't kill us because they lack training. They kill us because when they look at us, they see a nigger. And they see no value in a nigger. So that's why they kill us. It has nothing to do with lack of training. So again, please don't be turned off by the message because of the messenger. My religion, I am black. I'm tired of police killing us. I'm tired of us killing us. Next question. Okay? This video is part 2 to, if you ever see me on the ground with the police officer's knee on my neck, get it off by any means necessary. You know, at the end of the Derek Chauvin trial, murder trial, wherein he was found guilty, I found it disgusting. I found it simply pathetic to see black lawyers jumping around, chest bumping, as if they just witnessed a touchdown, as if this was a game, you know, as if it was truly victory. How can it be a victory? There's been 50-11, you know, for those who understand that old phrase, you know. There's been 500 George Floyd since George Floyd. On the same day that Derek Chauvin was found guilty in a court of law, not sentenced, but found guilty, 16-year-old Ma'Khia Bryant murdered by police. So how is it a victory when you find one guilty and you take another one from us? There's no way you can rationalize or justify that that's a victory. You know, I found it insulting to hear one of the relatives of George Floyd get on CNN and say that this victory was, not only did they get justice as far as the family of George Floyd, but this was a victory, that this was justice for all of the black lives that's been murdered. You have no right to speak for other grieving families who have lost their fathers, their brothers, their mothers, their daughters. You can't speak. Justice for you doesn't dictate justice for all. You know, in relation to Ma'Khia Bryant, dear family, there's a false narrative that's being put out by the media, by the police, and they're standing their ground on their false narrative. And their false narrative is that Ma'Khia Bryant, 16-year-old sister, teenager, had a knife, which she did. When the police arrived, she was chasing a young lady, or two young ladies. One fell. She was going after the other, which she was. And then the police shot her, killed her within seconds. And the false narrative is that this poor police officer had to make a life-changing decision to decide which life to save. So he chose to take the life of the young lady who was carrying the knife. Now, many are justifying this murder. It was a murder. First of all, the police officer knew what environment that he was coming into. He knew that he was coming to a foster home or a location that involved an altercation between teenage girls. He knew this ahead of time. Many of you silly Negroes and the police force and citizens are feeding into this false narrative of sympathizing more with the officer than you are with the grieving mother who lost her child to murder. You know, this, and many try to make you think, for those of you who have children, well, if it was your daughter, would you have wanted them to not shoot the assailant? And now you have black police officers coming forward, attacking LeBron James for speaking out. They attacked LeBron James so bad that he took down his tweet that was in relation to the officer who shot and killed Ma'Khia Bryant. All the murders that take place in this country, you don't hear the black police officers, the black police union, or whatever it's called. They don't raise their voice to speak out against their white comrades, their white brothers in blue. But now when they think there's a justified killing and a superstar is speaking out against them, the black police officers want to raise their voice now and say, well, LeBron got it wrong. He got it wrong on this one. Well, here's the situation, family. Ma'Khia Bryant, the 16-year-old who was murdered, she's the one who initially called the police. She called the police for help. You understand? She was in a situation where she feared for her life, or feared that some harm was going to come to her by other teenage girls that were there. And this is what the media outlets are intentionally leaving out. That Ma'Khia Bryant, the young sister who was murdered, she's the one who called the police to come and aid and assist her, to come to protect and serve her. By the time the police got there, apparently the situation had escalated and she had no choice but to fend for herself. And this is when the police arrived, when she was in the act of protecting her life, or fending off those who had already jumped on her. I have a daughter. And as one police officer told me, he said, well, Muhammad, what if that was your daughter in that situation? Would you want the police not to shoot? And my response is simple. I would hope that if my daughter was ever in a situation where she called the police for help, if she couldn't call me first, but she called the police for help, and when they got to the scene, because of my daughter's call, I would hope they wouldn't show up and murder my child. That's my answer. If my daughter calls the police for help because she can't reach her father, because I would kill and die for her, gladly, But she can't reach me and she calls the police and they show up and murder my child, I would pray that wouldn't happen. This officer didn't have to use deadly force. The use of deadly force should not have been an option. His training should have allowed him to gather all the information he needed before arriving to that scene. His weapons of choice should have been non-lethal weapons. And as I've said before, for those who say, well, he had to make a split-second decision, I get so tired of hearing that officers, because of the nature of their job, they're always forced to make a split-second decision. Why is it that you're making split-second decisions to take lives, to take black lives, rather than making a split-second decision to save a black life? This man shot this sister 4 times, sent a mass. So that was an aim, controlled, disciplined, calculated shoot. He had enough discipline to shoot her, send a mass, shoot to kill a 16-year-old child. Ones may say, well, age doesn't dictate anything. A 16-year-old can kill, but she was the victim in this entire case. She's the one who called for help, okay? Now, this officer should have showed up to this location and used a non-lethal use of force, rather than arriving and making a split-second decision to use a weapon of lethal force. And if he had to use a weapon of lethal force, which is what he used, then he should have shot her in the leg, shot her in the arm, or at least shot her one time. There's a policy in the police force that's taught. They're training. They're trained to double tap. That means shoot twice. You're shooting, my God, family. But my point is that we have to stop feeding into these false narratives. You know? Another one gone. A brother in North Carolina, murdered. I want to share something with you. I want you all to just take a look. Just walk with me for a minute. At the very beginning of this the Derek Chauvin trial, I think it was the second day or the first day, they showed the entire torture, murder of George Floyd. 4 times they used the body cam from 4 different offices. Whereas they forced us to watch this man in duration, 9 minutes and something seconds times 4. So let's say 40 minutes, back to back to back. So for 40 minutes, we had to sit there and watch this black man being tortured, begging for his mother, foaming from the mouth, pissing on himself, and ultimately died. And they played it over and over and over again for 40 minutes. And then every day thereafter, we've been forced to watch with no edit, with no censor. So I pose this question to you all. When was the first or when was the last time you have ever seen the media show a white man, woman, or child tortured and murdered on TV, where children can come home from school and turn on the TV and see this black man tortured and murdered in duration with no edit, with no censor? When was the last time you've ever seen the media show a white man, woman, or child murdered, tortured, the actual murder and torture of a white human being for the entire world to see over and over again? Who was it? When was it? You can't tell me. It hasn't happened. There's a reason that they have done this. It goes back to slavery. This is white supremacy. This is the perpetuation of white supremacy, black inferiority, you know, at its best. They did it during slavery. They would take the biggest slave, take him out in front of the other slaves as a form of discipline and to perpetuate fear. They would take the biggest slave and chop him down, rip his body apart, hang him, cut his testicles off, cut his private off in front of everyone to see, all the other black slaves to see. This was a controlling mechanism. Let's fast forward to this year, to 2021. This is the reason they continue to show George Floyd being murdered on national TV, on every major news outlet, local news outlet, over and over and over again with no edit, with no censor. Because they want to kill a nigga, they're really showing you how they feel. So to kill one black man is to kill us all. So in my previous message, I spoke about that Jesus love and the fact that we fear them. Our fear for them is greater than our love for each other. See? That's because we'll stand there and we'll watch one another being murdered by these police. And we do nothing because we're disconnected from each other. Whereas you see your brother or sister going through something, but because you're disconnected from them, you have no emotional attachment. And it's that lack of attachment, that lack of emotional attachment, you know, that disconnection between each other that allows you to stand by and watch your brother or sister being murdered, begging and crying for their mother, and you just stand back. You know, so that's something that we have to stop. And as Brother Malcolm or Brother Malik Ahad Shabazz said, we're not talking the same language. And that's why they continue to kill us. Anytime there's a miscommunication or lack of proper communication, it causes friction. It causes tension to rise whenever two people can't communicate properly. See, their communication is violence and murder. Our communication in response to them, we're trying to talk back to them or have a conversation using peace and passivity. So here we are speaking one language, peace and passivity and prayer, and their communication is murder and violence and mayhem. So we don't understand each other, you see? But when we start to communicate in the manner in which they're communicating, then they'll be ready to sit down and have a civilized conversation. I thank you for listening, for those who took the time to listen. Another morning run, another morning meditation. 3.27 miles this morning. It wasn't my best. I was struggling. But if you ever see me on the ground, the black or white police officer's knee on my neck, get that knee off my neck by any means necessary. Take the life of that beast that's trying to take my life. The Creator gave us a right, an eternal right, and we have the right to protect our life. It's called self-preservation. That's our right. No man can take that away. You know. Brothers and sisters, I won't end this by saying be safe. Whenever we tell each other to be safe, that's suggesting that we should walk in fear. You know, be safe out there. You know, like the boogeyman is out there, you know, that we may die. We're gonna die anyway, by some means. But rather than saying, be safe, stay ready and stay dangerous. Stay ready and stay dangerous. You know. Don't be careful. Don't be safe. But stay ready and stay dangerous. And this is how we should live. You know, protect your life, protect your family. That's your right. If they continue to take our loved ones from us, just know that there's a justice that the Creator gave us. You know, and we all of us who claim to believe in God, it's God's justice that we should want. You know? It's God's justice that we should want. Peace.